Break. Avec la superhashing sur la panne, il faut les piler. Et c'est piler I, K,
Oh,
okay.
Put a few more in just for good measure.
And here, I don't know, can you guys see this sample? I mean, there's a fungus here coming down, and then into here, there's some other fungal spores happening. But that's in general when you're looking at the microbe piles, the propagated microbe piles that we're making, and then we moisten them. They're really bioactive.
Just gotta put a little bit in.
So this here.
Oh yeah. What are the circular ones?
So there, some of them are spores.
Because you could be hitting metals.
In the IMO pile where I'm actually propagating them out, they're kind of they're like hibernating. Like I've made their spores only when I put them out into the field, and then I put the biostimulants so they wake up and go into the soil. Just kids turning the IMO pile. And so to bring all those things into natural farming and to like codify the way we go about getting these microbes and getting them into our soil is through this vocabulary. And this was Master Lee kind of developed this with Ray as a way of, if you've heard of natural farming before, you've heard of like IMO 1, 2, 3, 4. But what is IMO 26? I don't know, what the heck is even IMO 4? It's kind of vague, right? In terms of like, if I just put these arbitrary number systems to something, it doesn't tell me that much about it. But if I say to you, I have a seed IMO, or I have a propagated IMO, already in your mind you kind of have a picture of what I'm talking about, right? The seed is kind of something that's going to start and sprout. Propagated ones, maybe it's like germinated, sitting there. So this language has been codified here in this way to take those kind of this vague numbering system and to put it into language that's much easier to communicate. Because right now, in the current, how things are right now, there's like 4 or 5 different things that are IMO 5. Mm-hmm. And so when you see someone on the internet and they ask a question about IMO 5, it's really hard to tell what the heck they're even talking about and to try to help them. So by labeling them this way with these names, it makes it pretty easy to understand what we're doing. So in general, it kind of is a linear process starting, where in the beginning collecting the seed IMO, which is, you know, like we said, the IMOs are from your region. Even getting a hyper-local collection like your field that you're growing from, a nice forest nearby, and then a really rich forest, still in your same bioregion. And you can go and get these different seed IMOs from these rich areas. Like I was saying on that graph, the one side where you got the nice fungal, if you go to those areas and gather them, and then bring them back, and also get your indigenous microbes, you can get a really good seed collection that's going to be well adapted to your area. This here is just collecting them on a starch source, and this white fuzz you see growing on top of in this box are the microorganisms. In this case, you know, it's just forest fungal microbes that we're capturing there. This picture shows it being preserved in brown sugar. So that's mixed with equal volume of brown sugar and then stored this way. And the cool thing about seed IMO is you can actually store these like copies of the biology of forests. So if we go out today and we get a bunch of seed IMO and we store it, and then our environment is, catastrophically collapsing, we have the biology from today that in 5-10 years maybe we won't have if things keep going down the way they are. So we can actually go get a bunch of seed IMO from around the world and create little seed IMO libraries. And then if a big fire comes through and rages it all, then you can come back with your seed IMO and spray it back and the biology's put back.
Wow.
Now I know you usually use rice, but I've seen people now starting to use like oats and other things. Does that matter, or will you just collect you'll get like a slightly different selection based upon the food you put out?
Yep. Your starch medium will change what you collect, but people use oats, rice. I've used potatoes, cassava, taro, all kinds of starch crops that we grow.
Instead of the brown sugar?
No, instead of the rice. The brown sugar is the brown sugar is not something you can really get away from in natural farming because it has certain properties that we need. But in terms of what starch you're collecting on, you could use any starch source.
So you don't necessarily recommend anything over another, the rice over anything else. You're just like whatever is in your hands.
If I had to grow the rice, I wouldn't recommend the rice, but because I can just buy a bag of it and it's already pre-cold and everything, and it's really inexpensive to me,
Yeah.
I go with the rice.
Yeah.
It's cheap and easy.
Yeah.
But if I had to go out and thresh all that rice, hell no, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be just
Right.
digging up one potato, boiling it, and mushing it, but collect on a potato.
I got you.
But rice has a number of reasons that it's good. It's pretty non-selective of what it cultures.
My rice is very selective about what it cultures, and it's rarely rice. And so I've just moved away from rice because I have bins of spent grain spent barley grain that I don't get to dumping out for the chickens right away, and it grows beautifully. And so I don't, rice doesn't work for me.
Cool.
Took a long time to
Yeah.
just
spent
observe
grain.
byproduct.
It probably has more moisture in it, and
Yeah.
that's probably the issue you were having is the amount of moisture.
Yeah.
So this trip, what I've been doing is we did actually a lot of good collections, and when we're collecting this IMO, we moisten the leaf material that's around it and make sure it stays moist, and then they colonize much better.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've been doing that, but it's.
But the rice still being like a hard cooked rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard cooked rice. Yeah.
So after you've done the seed IMO, you do a propagated IMO, and there's basically these 3 steps, and primarily what we try to do in natural farming is get to activated IMO, but by all means you can use the seed IMO, you can use the propagated IMO, but we usually want to get to activated. So from your seed you can propagate it, and here they're doing it in mill run here, but I don't have access to mill run anymore. So what I've been using is dog food blended with wood chips, and that kicks ass.
What kind of dog food?
Pedigree.
Sure. And
Kibbles
why?
and bits.
Why?
Whatever's
And why
on sale.
dog food?
So what happens in this propagation step is you're getting a media that can grow the microbes kind of like a compost pile. But what's important is the food source in
Right.
there. And so the reason I'm using the dog food is because it's got fats and oils in it.
Yeah.
It's also got pretty high protein content, which puts this weird sheen on it, but
Yeah.
that goes away in about 2 days.
Yep.
And the wood chips are acting as like a carbon source kind of material. I try to get really finely made wood chips so that I can stir the pile.
How do you get finely made wood chips? Do
Uh,
you have a wood chipper?
well, yeah. I mean, I usually get it from a tree company.
When I get it from a tree company, it's never finely chipped. That's fine.
Get a different treatment.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Or sift it.
but it's not that important that it's that small. It's just for you to work with. But what you're doing here, and the difference is that this is not a compost pile. What this is a low temperature thing where you're trying to take all of this material and in 1 week turn it into microbial bodies. So I'm trying to have my microbes grow and proliferate through my entire material and it to be actually microbial bodies when I'm done. So this is a 1 week process to propagate it and to turn all this material and have all these microbes grow into there and turn this into propagated IMO.
With the wood chips, sorry to go back to that, is there any type of wood that you would not want to use? I mean, like, just being antifungal or antibacterial in its nature, or?
Yeah. I mean, anything with like high resin content probably is not that great. I don't have pine trees where.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
You know, pine trees are good. You wouldn't want like cedar or eucalyptus.
Or-
That's
or-
the
Pine
other
tree's
one.
great. It breaks down so fast.
Okay.
Even
No,
cedar's
black
not that bad once it's chipped. But it's always the remedial wood chips. 3 branches, 3 inches in diameter and less.
Okay.
So that there's a greater bark ratio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
no.
Yeah, I got a specific answer for you. And then this step here after propagating, this turns into billions and billions of microbes. The next stage is that this pile in the back is kind of this material. It's turned a little grayer because it's all the microbes. And this front pile is my field soil. And so what I'm doing is I'm adding an equal amount of microbes plus field soil together, and then doing a secondary process of heating it up again for another week. What that does is it takes all those microbes that are indigenous and then it teaches them how to work with my soil.
Are you going to get deeper into the IMOs?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. 'Cause I have some questions, so you know you're going to answer them later, so maybe I'll just not say anything.
Yeah, well, for sure. So this is just, once, basically in natural farming, once you got to this activated step, we use this a lot. But the starch bubble tea, and there's other ways to go about making microbes. This is just one way to really tune them into your area and to have some of the best soil microbes. And this stuff here, I mean, it outperforms any side-by-side trial we put it up against. It just, the activated IMO just always wins. It's adapted to the area, it outperforms everything else. Once you've got your activated IMO though, the easiest way to put it out on a large scale is to liquefy it and to make like an activated aerated tea or a compost tea extract and feed it and do a liquid spray, especially on an orchard where you can spray it out into trees. Way easy.
And it doesn't matter if you're doing foliar or just everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you really want the microbes to live in your top inch of soil for sure.
Yeah.
And then you also want microbes to be protecting the plant's surface. However you're going to get those out there, like spraying it onto the foliar to start and then into your soil. But the idea is to get your workers out there really, and these are, your IMO are your workers in your field. And after you've got your IMO established, you can then come back with foods to feed them. So that's the pathway I usually go, is this liquid IMO pathway from activated to liquid. But I'm also at my farm going this way, where I mix the microbes into my animals' feed. It starts to pre-digest it, breaks it down for them, then goes into their gut. I get manure IMO back out from them. I have a no-smell pig pen system, and the microbes, if I dig down, it's about 4 feet deep. If I dig down, it's perfect 110 degrees, as if I have an IMO pile constantly cooking down there for, however many months I want to let it just be there. So I'm actually incubating my microbes through manure and through animals in this system. And then I can, if I really, I probably will go this route once I got a lot more, significantly more crop waste. But compost is always backbreaking work, and I'm not, I go the liquid route. I'd rather spray things through a hose that I don't have to carry than
Do
break
your
my
chickens
back.
get to run around, or are they always in the cage?
Mine are in a pen.
Oh yeah. So what I do is I just have a spot in my yard where I just throw everything. I just throw their waste there. I throw anything that's not going to bring rats. So,
Do you inoculate that pile?
well, sure, because it's got their poop in it. I do spray it when I'm out there spraying stuff. Yes, I do spray a little bit, but I don't really worry about that because it's all in their poop. It's in the food. It's in everything. I throw brewery waste on that pile. They'll clean that up before the night comes. And then just whatever, wood chips, bedding, straw, coffee grounds.
This route here of going the compost way is, if you have large volumes of stuff, you want to compost it anyway. The only difference than a typical compost is that if you mix in the activated IMO, and about 10 to 20% of your compost being the activated IMO, you're now getting your soil tuned microbes in there as well. And it's as they're breaking down to get the nutrition from the compost, you're also getting tuned microbes to your area. So it's a way of just augmenting your compost with indigenous biology. And a lot of people, you take like soil and mix it into your compost or some other way to get biology in there. But this way of just bringing the activated IMO into your compost.
I put a few handfuls of IMO 3 in my worm bin and then just misted it with a little bit of water, and then like a couple days later the worms were just like going berserk in there. And it wasn't even that much, and I don't think it's even that good of an IMO collection really. I don't think I used enough food. Maybe, I don't know, you'll tell me later. I don't know.
Is there a importance to the depth of the manure or the compost in terms of creating a certain temperature that's most beneficial?
So the activated IMO part needs to be under 120 degrees.
Under 120, yeah.
Once you've activated them here, then these, a compost has to be above 140 for 3 days to be an official compost. And so you still will have those higher temperatures in your manure, your compost. But because you've already activated them here, those microbes are strong, they're predominant, and they will still come through here.
You had mentioned the 110, and I couldn't remember how deep it was down that you found that temperature.
Yeah, it was down about 3-4 feet. I mean, I'm down.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking if it was shallow, if it was only 6 inches or something, would it not develop enough temperature?
I don't think so, because this is my pig pen system where it's 4 feet deep.
Okay.
So this is a picture of the seed IMO, which looks a little better here. And I usually go an 80-20 rule, meaning that 80% of it is non-tie-dye and white. I like it. If it's all tie-dye, then it's not the world's best collection. But this one here, where you're seeing mostly this white stuff, and when you pick it up, it's like tempeh, and you shake it, and it's strong, and it smells nice. So that's a really good seed IMO collection from the forest.
Smelling nice isn't like it smells like the forest floor?
Sometimes it'll smell like natto.
What's not
All these fermented things that, not nachos.
That's like Japanese something, soy paste or something?
Yeah, like
Bacillus subtilis.
Yeah, and that's the primary microbe that you're getting. That's the white guy that's on top popping up. But it's just an indicator that there's a rich colony working together.
And then like Aspergillus oryzae, humans domesticated poisonous Aspergillus for making tofu to rice wine.
So
What is this?
So the method for doing it is dry cook rice and or whatever starch you're gonna use, and you just don't want it to be too mushy. So whatever you're gonna use, whatever starch, just make it a little dry. Put it in a box, and ideally like wicker baskets work really well. Like you see that basket up top of the piano there? That wicker basket.
Might be gone tomorrow.
Yeah. So something like that basket that's on the table over there, that's the kind of basket I would use. On the
And your
internet.
thrift store
You can get
has-
tons of stuff like that at the Goodwill, man. For like
Yeah.
$1 or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Good
Yeah, your
Goodwill's
thrift
like
store has
everything.
100 of those.
So on the internet, you'll see like wood boxes and people drilling holes and all kinds of shit. Just pick up one of those, man. Make it easy on yourself. Just grab one of those. And then it's placed in the forest, and you bury it down. How you go through? There's actually in the book. There's a really good picture and guide on it. But the general idea is you're putting it in direct contact with that rich microbial soil. All those guys jump up into your starch. And it takes about 3 to 5 days, but at these temperatures here, it might take, if you did it outdoors, it'd probably take a week.
That's what I was wondering. I saw a lot of the when I see like the things like for like my house stays about 60, maybe 65, and when I'm making like an FPJ, it takes me about 2 weeks.
In here at this temperature right here, it should be about still within a week.
Oh yeah.
Should be. Yeah, it's not that cold in this house.
No, I'm saying my house. At my house, it's
So
like
you
about
keep it
60.
cool?
Well, it's about 60 degrees, maybe 65.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like much is happening until after. Maybe I'm going to. But again, I'll find out. But
Is that buried in the dirt?
So yeah,
How
so
Jimmy
you
Carter
can
review.
you can actually
How
bury
Jimmy
this
Carter review.
outside and
It's
do
like
it
sweater
outside,
and
that
stuff.
type of collection. The easier way is to go to the forest and to gather not only where the leaves are decomposing, but also that rich soil and bring that into your house. And then you put it in a box and then put your box inside and then cover the leaf material on top. Make sure the leaf material on top is moistened enough, and then you'll get an awesome collection.
I think some of the challenges with our moist leaf material is there's actually things like blue-green mold and slime, like the yellow of like the beginning of a slime mold. It's like alive in the leaves, and so it's just.
But you should be gathering more of the soil dirt
Right.
and put that and cocoon that on top,
Yeah.
and actually even like make
Yeah.
like cocoon it in there, so that the dirt is really those are
Yeah.
the microbes you really
Yeah.
So wait, sorry, just to understand this, you're actually saying that you should do this and then bring it into your house and have it cultivate in that container in your house. Is that what you're mentioning? Like a box inside of a box?
Do you got a book? Yeah. Flip to the back, and you'll see there's a seed IMO page, and I hope that'll be.
That's what I have to do because like any good forest for me is like an hour away.
Yeah. So bring it to you.
That's what I did. Yeah.
So this page right here. Oh, sorry.
You good.
This page right here.
Okay.